Good evening, everybody. Ouronnj here with another War of the Visions video, and today we are doing episode number 5 of Let's Talk Tanks, and we are featuring a lot of people's favorite unit in the game, Rain. Rain is somebody who I like a whole lot, and I'm very excited to do this episode about him. I'm very excited to show you guys what I think Rain is capable of. So, to start, we're going to compare Rain with Agrias. As a lot of you know, if you watched my Agrias review, I think Agrias is probably the best unit in the game for PvP. But does that mean she does everything better than every other unit? Obviously not. So can Rain be a better magic tank than Agrias? That's one of the questions we're going to answer. The other question we're going to answer is, can Rain tank in general, kind of like Agrias can? So to start, let's explore the stats of these two characters. You see Rain on the left, you see Agrias on the right. We're going to look at HP, defense, spirit, magic resist, agility, and movement. Those are going to be the metrics we use to decide, hey, which one's better, right? Like, which unit's going to be the better tank? The first thing I want to do is I want to apply passives to these numbers, because in Rain's case, and in Agrias' case a lot of times, their passive abilities make them either specialize in something or make them significantly better in something. So we're going to go ahead and put their passive scores on the screen. These represent what they can add to those respective stats if they choose to really go that route with their passives. You can see that Agrias can do so much with hers. Heck, she can add 27 spirit to her stats with just her passive abilities. She can add HP, she can add defense, which, as you see, is something Rain cannot do. She can also add agility, which is really important for tanks who tend to be slow. Now, I will say Rain is not super slow. He has that 55 agility, and for tanks, as far as tanks go, that's pretty good. Now, let's add those stats, those passives, to their base scores and put those numbers on the screen. And then go line by line and see which unit is better. So, if Rain and Agrias both decided to use their HP boosting passives, Rain would still have the lead. He has 4,174 HP compared to Agrias' 3632 if they both used that passive ability. So I'm going to give the edge to Rain there. That's it's actually over 500 more health. That is a win for Rain. Defense is completely one-sided for Agrias. Rain does not have a way of boosting his defense with any of his passive abilities or anything like that, so he's stuck at 4. You can see Agrias gets to 20. That's pretty good with just using a passive ability. So Agrias really gets the nod there, but we expected that. Alright, spirit. Even though Agrias can add 27 spirit to her score, her base stat is so much lower than Rain's that just him being able to add 15 brings him up to 40 and actually gives him the edge over her there. Not by a mile, but 5 spirit is 5 spirit, and that's significant. And being at 40 spirit walking into a fight, you can already see how Rain's going to make such a great magic tank. Alright, magic resist. We're talking about magic tanking here. Let's look at that. Well, Rain can get 15 more magic resist from a passive. Alright, that puts him at 40. Agrias is stuck down there at 20, which is her base. That's pretty cool. Being able to go into a fight as Rain with 40 spirit and 40 magic resist if you want is pretty impressive. Now, he'll sacrifice some HP to go that route, but seems kind of worth it to me. Okay, agility. Agrias gets plus 12. Now, that's a percentage score with agility, so it actually only gives her 5. Excuse me, it gives her 6, but that puts her at 67, making her one of the fastest units in the game, much less fast for a tank. She's going to destroy Rain in this category, and that 67 agility, her being able to make multiple moves compared to Rain, makes me lean into that like move category where they both have 3 move and 1 jump. I'm going to like give Rain a red circle there, because that is a weakness of tanks that Agrias kind of overcomes by just being able to go multiple times in a row. So after looking at the stats, I would say on paper it looks like Rain is a better magic tank than Agrias, but we won't really know how good of a magic tank he is until he's being slapped in the face with some magic. So let's throw him into some situations, throw some magic at him, and see how he performs as a tank. Okay, we're in game now, and we're looking at Rain's character screen. So right away, you can see the stats that we looked at before are playing out. There's Rain's 40 Spirit, and here's Rain's 40 Magic Resist. So we're gearing up to go against magic teams. There might be a magic meta incoming soon, we're not 100% sure on that, but what are you going to want to use on him to prepare him mostly for that meta? Well, let's take a look. You're going to want to run Knight of Grandshelt Flame as your sub job. Why? Because you get this ability right here. Astral Guard increases own chance of being targeted and bestows a barrier on self that reduces magic damage for 3 turns. This is Rain's bread and butter tank ability. You want him casting this on his first turn. It is going to give him that hate that he needs to be a tank, and it's going to put the barrier on him that will further reduce magic damage that he's already barely going to be taking any of. As far as his other skills, they're mostly just damage based. Undermine is a good debuff. His main job has like fire magic. It has Soul Prominence, which is a 3-hit slashing attack that deals magic damage, or that deals damage based on his magic stat. All good abilities, but we're not here to talk about the DPS character Rain. We're here to see if Rain can hold up as a magic tank. To do that, we're going to run Spirit Up and Mage's Protection. These are those 2 passives that give him that Spirit and Magic Resist. And we're gonna run Magic Reflex to see if we can't just totally dodge a magic attack. Would be awesome if we could. So let's look at the group we put together for Rain here to further enhance those stats. Here it is. This is what I would consider a really strong magic hunting team, with Rain at the head being the tank. With this setup, Rain is able to push his stats to 63 Spirit and a whopping 83% magic resist. How does he do that? Well, Smart Coat is one way. A +5 Smart Coat gives 21 Spirit and 8 magic resist. Maybe you don't have a +5 Smart Coat, but if you have even just one recipe and you can make the barrier type, that 21 extra Spirit is going to be huge on Rain. Maybe you're farming the Shiva event right now. You can get a very nice Spirit Coat for Rain from that Shiva event that will also add slash attack resist, and those 2 stats together are very good for going against this guy right here, Zombie Ryu. We are also running Sacred Step here, not for the Spirit. This is only giving him about 2 because of diminishing returns, but we want the agility. I highly suggest an agility TMR for Rain to really push him into a higher speed bracket. Alright, what else? We're going Fenrir for the Esper, because Fenrir can do this for our guy. If you go look at the training board here, we can get Slash Attack Up, which Rain uses, and Magic Resist, which Rain is going to love. I really like Fenrir on Rain when he's being a magic tank. Let's head back to the party real quick and look at the last thing. We're also running Fenrir's Vision card. 20% magic resist for the group. Okay. If Rain is this magic tank we think he's supposed to be, this is his ideal setup. Let's see him shine. Okay, so anybody who's playing a lot of Arena right now knows it's very tough to actually find a purely magic-based team in Arena. We are in a very slashing, piercing, dark attack meta. So instead of testing Rain out there against magic, I'm going to bring him into a regular fight with this team with him, which you can see is very, very loaded on magic damage. That's a max Trousseau and a max Ramu, and then I'm bringing Skull, Ryu, and Medina, and they're going to unload on Rain, and we're going to see how he takes that damage. I also brought a Spellblade Ramza to see if we could buff Rain to the point where he just doesn't even take magic damage. Let's jump into this and see how that goes. After we do this, stick around because I do want to test if Rain can be a good physical tank as well as magic tank, and we can definitely test that out in the arena. So we're going to do that after we test out his magic tanking ability right here. Alright, first up, let's see what Medina would do to him with a flare, her hardest hitting move, before he's cast any buffs at all. 286. Question answered, I think. 286. Like, to prove that that's not just some kind of like fluke, if she throws that at Ramza, it's 4.3k. If she throws it at, Skull, 2.4. Shoot that thing at Ryryu, 3.8. Yeah. Alright, let's look at her limit break. What's that going to do to Rain? 241 damage. Almost kills herself and the rest of her team, but doesn't even scratch him. Cool. Okay, no need to even mess with that. Now, one thing, there's like zombie Ryryus. There's units out there that do slashing damage that is magic type. Now, that is mitigated by Spirit, which we know Rain has a lot of. So how does Ryryu do there? Well, let's look at Stonaga Blade, which is that kind of move. Aha! So here you see, this move hits Rain pretty dang hard still. 3.7k is no joke. Now, it would hit even harder than that if Rain didn't have all that Spirit. So he's still effective against this, but not nearly as much so. Because if we look at like Drain Evocation, 300. Wow. Cool. Okay. Let's go to... actually, don't stand right there. I want you to stand right here, because we're going to test what a Spellblade can bring to Rain. And that's this buff right here. Resist Magic. So, AoE Magic Resist buff. There we go. Now let's see what our mages are doing to Rain. Skull, what's a flare look like at this point? Looks like 1 damage, boss. Yep. That's the old I'm immune to this type of damage levels. If we look, what is your magic resist right now? Whoop, wrong thing. What's your magic resist right now, Rain? Yeah, it's nullified. So there you go. Rain is a fantastic magic tank, and he's on that like whisper level of resist for magic. Cool. Nullifying damage is awesome. That's fun. Let's cast that so we can see it do that 1 damage. Here we go. He like chants the spell, throws it at Rain, and Rain's like, yeah, 1. Cool, man. Now we're gonna cast... Okay, we know that he's immune to regular magic damage now. But what about Astral Guard? It says, increases his own chance of being targeted and bestows a barrier that reduces magic damage for 3 turns. Does this even matter at this point? Let's cast it. Because we want to see if this reduces zombie Ryryu's damage against Rain. So let's bring Stonaga Blade back out. 2.6k now. So it does. That's really interesting. I would have actually thought, before I just tested this right now, that Rain's Astral Guard buff would have not reduced damage from a slashing type magic attack. But indeed it does. And now, this move would not even 2-shot him. It would take 3 of these to kill him, which makes him a very effective tank, because Zombie Ryryu is one of the hardest hitting units in the game right now. Drain Evocation, 1 damage. It's just 0 actually. It gets reduced by the shield. Like, watch this. Nope, blocked. Cool. Alright. So there, I feel like that's enough. I feel like you've seen now, and then we've discovered that Rain is a super effective magic tank. But the question then becomes, awesome, but can I use him? Because am I going to be able to find teams that are just pure magic? Maybe not. So let's go to Arena. Let's put a physical tank Rain on the board, who's still going to have good magic resist, right? Like, he's still going to have a lot of his magic resisting abilities. But let's see if he can hang against a mixed damage team or a pure physical damage team. Alright, so here we are in Arena. We're sitting just inside the top 1,000 right now. So this will be a pretty decent test against some teams we can imagine are at least moderately well built. Let's look at what we have before. Okay, this is what Rain was running to just completely mitigate all that magic. So let's mix it up. Let's give him something like a platinum robe with 18 defense on it. Okay, now we're getting some defense. Let's give him Golem to add some more defense. Do we want to keep this on there? Maybe we don't. Maybe we want to give him something like, where is our card here? This, Path to Revenge. 10 more defense, slash attack up for the group. Our zombie Ryu is going to like that slash attack. Somebody else in the group is going to like that slash attack. You could also go resistances at this point, but I'm going to lean into defense. We want to just be generically good against attacks. And then we still have these on, so we're still now getting 10 spirit from this and our agility. Alright, Rain looks like a tank with this build. Another alternative would be to switch around his passives a little bit. So we don't really need Mage's Protection anymore. Let's switch that to HP up, which I almost have max. But this is just more health, puts him over 6,000. And now, with 42 defense and 6,000 HP, hey, maybe we're in the business of tanking a little bit. We'll leave the rest of these where they are. I still like to have this spirit in case we run into a little Leela or some kind of spellcaster mixed in. We're going to leave this passive or Knight of Grandshelt Flame on because we do want him to pull aggro still. So let's try this out. Let's see what he can do. Let's just pick the top guy. Pure physical damage. I would not suggest this fight as tank Rain. But let's go. Kind of a cool thing I think you're going to see in this fight is the power of Skull. And I'm going to do... Skull's probably going to be my first, Let's Talk Mages video because I got his vision card and I want to do that episode. But watch how the interaction between Skull and a tank works here. The tank's going to buff his hate. Then Skull is going to throw a Quicken on him. This gets your tank out there. This is super good with Rain, since if you're against purely magic teams and he's not going to take magic damage, he can sit out there by himself and absorb what would be a bunch of AoE attacks and just not take damage. Alright, here we go. Piercing Lance. That was pretty decent. I'm not disappointed in how Rain tanked that at all. Now our mages are getting involved, dropping some damage. Rain is going to do some damage himself. We'll fire Aga here. Good damage. We've actually killed the enemy tank. A benefit of Rain is he brings some pretty good damage himself, especially in a group that is buffing magic and magic attack. Alright, Rain's down, but Rain took 3 very legitimate attacks from the other team that is running heavy damage. So I feel pretty good about how he's performed already. Let's see if our team can just clean this up. I like our odds in a 2v1 against Runestern. I say that, Runestern gets what would have been double kill levels of damage, but then he dies to Zombie Ryu because killing Zombie Ryu is very hard. Awesome. Let's find one more fight, just to have some fun. See how Rain performs one more time. Okay, here we have a team that has a tank Agrius, maybe another tank. This could be a double tank or a double bruiser Calculator. This is more what I would have suggested for a tank Rain, because you have that mixed damage, and if Ildira decides to just start nuking on Rain, he's going to tank that a lot better than like an Engelbert would, or something like that. Let's jump into this fight. Let's see how it goes. Alright, Agrius starts with bells. That's a pretty common Agrius thing to do. Zombie Ryu is going to, in a lot of matches, he's going to get 2... reviving abilities off if you let him run his own TMR. It's a really effective way to kind of cheese a win on the enemy because they just can't kill him. Especially if you're running him with a tank, it's really hard to burn through your team if Ryu doesn't die the first 2 times he dies. Okay, Rain moves up. He is not in position to do any early damage and gets stopped by Agrius. There we see a weakness of Rain if you're running him high spirit. Into Agrius, he's going to be very susceptible to some stops, to some confusion, to that kind of thing. Alright, but are we going to be okay? He did get his hate buff off, so he is going to tank a few more hits for us. There's a Taunting Blade. He took that pretty well. Nice hazard slash from Zombie Ryu. Good. Here's Dwayne. Okay, Dwayne takes him down. So even though this was a better matchup on paper for Rain, he got hit by that stop and ended up dying at what was about the same point as the enemy tank. So really not too bad. And we're in pretty good shape here. Ryu still has all his comeback to lifes up. He's going to use one right here. And Skull's still alive. And Skull's going to drop a big time flare on Dwayne. And this might end Dwayne. It did. So we win the fight. It was not a clean win, but again, Rain got out there. He took the opening round of attacks from the enemy team. He allowed our heavy damage magic team to follow him in and clean up the fight. And it really went pretty good considering he got status affected by Agrius the first time he saw anybody. Alright, so the very last thing we have to do is give Rain his score and then explain why I gave him the score that I did. So I went with an 87 out of 100 for Rain. A very, very good score. Not quite Agrius level. She was in those green numbers. She was sitting at a 90, but he's approaching that. So why? Well, as a physical tank, I'm going to give him a respectable 75. He's okay. Can he do it? Yes. Can he do it as well as a lot of the other physical tanks in the game? No. If he's all you have, you're not completely hosed. You're going to be able to put him out there. He's going to be able to take enough damage that the rest of your team gives you a chance to win the fight. But if you have other options for physical tanks, you might look towards those other options. Even good MR options like Mont or Dario. As a magical tank, the 99 out of 100 here. He is about as perfect as there is. His hate buff even gives him a magic shield. He's an insane magic tank, and this is by far the strength of the character. He absolutely lives up to the billing as the best magic tank in the game right now. Or if there is another one as good as him, they're just as good as him. They're not better than him. He's the top, he's the cream of the crop as far as magic tanks go. Next, his damage. His damage is pretty good. I'm going to give him an 87 here, especially on a magic team, which he's going to be on a lot because other mages tend to also have magic resist and synergize really well with Rain, therefore unlocking his damage potential, and that's why I give him an 87. Movement, his movement's bad. He has the basic tank movement, 65. That's what I'm going to give to everybody who's just 3 and 1 and not fast enough to make up for it. But talking about Rain's speed, he's almost fast enough to make up for it. You saw that with the right gear, you can make Rain not slow. Now, you have to have the right gear to make that happen though, and I understand not everybody has access to Jesus' bells or Ayaka's boots or espers that are good at boosting his stats and give him speed, etc. When he was fast, he was running a level 99 Fenrir Vision card, which not everybody's going to have. So his speed is good, it's just not great. And then utility, I'm going to give him an 85 on utility. A lot of this is because he can generate his own hate, which is really, really important for a tank. He can do it on the first turn through a self buff, like Warrior of Light can. And that is the best way in the game right now of generating hate. He can also buff his own resists in a magic group, and he doesn't even need a Spellblade's magic resist buff to take negligible magic damage. So I'm going to give him an 85 here. He has great utility for a tank. And then overall, again, that score, 87 out of 100, is really, really good. And this is a super fun character. We're not even talking about how good he is at PvE with his multi-hit attacks and his breaks, because that's not what this series is about. This series is about PvP tanks, and Rain is a great PvP tank, and in the right situations, he is the best PvP tank available if you can find those magic teams. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoy making this series. If there's another tank you'd like to see, leave that down in the comments. If you haven't seen my last videos on the tanks, give those a watch. And then, yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for coming by, and have a great 2021.